Welcome to Jerome's Gibberish. I'm Sam Moore, and this is
Jerome Yanford.
And today,
it's my podcast.
Jerome, I'm taking over the show now. It's my podcast.
It's a one-time only deal.
Yeah, right. So we're going to start this by discussing the Survivor Series. All the matches, who we thought got snubbed, and just everything going on.
Dolph Ziggler got snubbed.
No, come on, dude. Come on. The Miz, Sami Zayn had a great match for the Intercontinental
Dolph Ziggler, Sami Zayn could have torn the house down.
Yes, they could have, but, you know, the powers that be
had
didn't see it that way.
And Maurice, who I love, don't get me wrong, had to interfere in order for Miz to retain the Intercontinental Championship.
Well, I don't think anyone complains about seeing Maurice out there. Jerome?
Yeah, I believe that's the only reason why Miz faced Sami Zayn instead of Ziggler. Because if Ziggler, still had Lana with him, I think Ziggler would be in that match. Or maybe it would have been a triple threat. Instead, Dolph Ziggler wasn't even on the card.
A triple threat would have been cool, but right now I think, in my opinion, on SmackDown, I think The Miz is the man as a heel, and on Raw, I got to give it to Jericho.
I got no arguments with you for Jericho. All right.
Yeah, but who's better than The Miz on SmackDown right now as a heel?
The phenomenal AJ Styles.
AJ's great.
He's the face that runs the place.
And I think he deserves to be the world champion. He's great. But I think heel-wise, he gets cheered. The Miz gets booed. That's a heel to me. Someone that gets booed.
He's the champ that runs the camp.
Yeah, but I think Miz gets more heat.
Miz does get more heat, but it's that go-away heat.
Which makes him a better heel, in my opinion.
Whatever, okay? I guess I'm looking at better worker, is what I'm looking at.
What are you saying? The Miz isn't a good worker?
I'm saying AJ's better than Miz, that's what I'm saying.
How?
And how is he not?
I don't know. Explain it to me. I want to know what it is about AJ Styles that makes him better than Miz. How many years has Miz been in WWE right now?
Too many.
Headlining WrestleManias.
Yeah, he stole that main event from Punk.
I mean, hey, he's a better heel. The Miz gets under people's skin, man. That's what you're supposed to. It's like Tully Blanchard. He used to get under
bring
people.
Up Tully Blanchard. Well, the only reason
he
you like
gets
Tully
under
Blanchard
people
so much is because that segment where he slapped his dead wife or girlfriend. That's why you like Tully Blanchard.
Baby doll deserved it.
See that right there? This is my co-host, who you will not be seeing after this podcast.
But what I'm saying is the Miz is that type of heel. He's a heel that really gets under the people's skin.
Okay, let's move on from the Miz. Okay, let's move on. All right, we all know that Miz and Sami Zayn had an okay, decent match, but Sami Zayn and Dolph Ziggler could have easily torn the house down.
I agree. But
whatever, we all know Dolph Ziggler's the one who's the workhorse who
I
gets
also
slighted.
thought The Miz did a great job. The Miz is at every show. He hardly takes any time off. He does a lot of PR work for WWE. He does it all, man. You can kind of put him up there with John Cena with as much work as he does for WWE. And I don't think a lot of people will disagree with me on that. Yeah.
All right, let's just move on from the whole Intercontinental title scene and how pathetic it is.
You know what scene I'm a little sour on is the cruiserweights.
I like the cruiserweights. I don't have a problem with them.
I mean, I like that the cruiserweights are back. I like the Cruiserweight Classic. I think from the jump they should have just kept them on their own show instead of putting them on Raw, because I feel the slot that they're in on Raw, the fans are just like not digging it, and you hear it in the crowd. Really, you don't.
Well, I'm afraid that if the cruiserweights only have their own show, which they're going to be having,
right?
But I think they're still going to be on Raw. That 205 Live, but I think premieres next week.
I just like
they're going to get lost in the shuffle and nobody's going to see them.
They wouldn't be lost in the shuffle if WWE, you guys actually bring back the greatest cruiserweight of all time, which you can't argue that. A man that can still go. Work a deal out, man. Bring back Rey Mysterio. Give
the man has had like 5 or 6 knee surgeries, all right? He's done. He's injury prone. He can't do it anymore.
He's doing it in Lucha Underground.
Yeah, he did something else out of Mexico too. Why don't you talk about that?
Well, I think they need someone with more credibility on that roster, and I think Rey's.
I have no problem with them cultivating from within. The casual fan, sure, might not even know who Brian Kendrick or T.J. Perkins are, but we know who they are. We know Rich Swann.
Yes.
We know
Because we follow them.
Cedric Alexander.
We follow all these shows.
You're right.
But
So you think they should bring back Rey Mysterio so that even the casual fan, hey, I know that guy.
Yeah. Rey,
and then Rey can come back and poke.
You have Rey Mysterio, you have Chavo Guerrero.
Do you still want them to be on their own show? Put Rey on that separate show that they have with them and get them over there? Or does Rey get to be on the main roster too?
Rey, what I think they should do is they should have the new show for the new guys.
Okay.
You know, get them the exposure they need.
Yep.
And then when it's time like to have the big matches on Raw, have them with a Rey Mysterio, a Chavo Guerrero, guys that can go and have credibility, and we're great cruiserweight champions, man. You know, that's all I'm saying. It just makes sense.
Well, of the current cruiserweights that there are right now, who would you build the cruiserweight division around?
Well, that's tough. To be honest with you, out of all of them, just because he has more character and shows more, right now, even though he's older, I love the Brian Kendrick.
So do I.
I think he's the man that they should build it around, and I think that's what they're doing right now. And he just has character. The other guys, they need a lot of work and development.
Well, not all
for character.
For character development, sure.
Yeah.
They don't get it very much promo time.
In-ring wise, they're great, but that's the thing. They have no
Unless
character.
these cruiserweights have a manager to talk for them, they get next to no promo time. I mean, Brian Kendrick can cut his own promo, carry his own weight. But you see TJ Perkins on the mic out there. He looks lost.
Yeah,
Rich Swann keeps it short and sweet and just tries to keep it all that shuck and jive, whatever stuff for him. The rest of them,
works for him.
They don't have anything to say.
But I think the way the cruiserweight division could have worked on Raw is if they kind of booked it like WCW did. Start the show off with a pop. You know what I mean? Nitro always started off hot with the cruiserweights.
Yeah, they did.
You had Jericho, you had Eddie, you
Get
had
the crowd
Ray.
up. Get them up.
I think at the point that they booked these guys in the middle of the show, the crowd just isn't into it. And you got to understand too that a lot of the guys that are heavyweights these days, back in the day, would have been cruiserweights. So a lot of the moves, I mean, they're not excited to see anymore. You know what I'm saying? As the show goes on,
Fans may have been desensitized or have come to expect what we consider to be a high spot move. Now, transitioning over into the actual Survivor Series card itself, we're stuck with the cruiserweights because they were in the opening match. Well, it was a dark match. It was a six-man tag. TJ Perkins, Rich Swann, and Noam Dar defeating Drew Gulak, Tony Nese, and Arya Daivari. And then another dark match, singles, Kane and Luke Harper, who's now back from his
Harper, man.
His
I
injury,
like him.
back with the Wyatt family. I love Luke Harper.
He's great.
More than I love Strowman as a member of the family or even Eric Rowan.
Yeah.
If they're going to have it only two people, it should be Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper. And now you have Randy Orton as the third. We're going to get to him in a little bit. Now it's going to go to the main card of Survivor Series, starting off with the women's 5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series elimination match. You had Team Raw, which was Charlotte, Sasha Banks, Alicia Fox, Nia Jax, and Bayley with their, I guess, mascot, you want to call her, Dana Brooke, against Team SmackDown. We're talking about Nikki Bella, Alexa Bliss, Naomi, Becky Lynch, Carmella, with their, well, it was supposed to be Nikki Bella.
Yep.
And Natalya was supposed to be with them, then all of a sudden Nikki Bella's hurt, Natalya took her spot. Now, we all know what's going to happen there. It's going to be revealed that Natalya was the one who attacked Nikki Bella. But honestly, me personally, out of those six, Carmella should have been the one on the outside looking in because she, to me, looks the most green. And I don't think she should have the spot over Natalya in a match if you're going to have them all there and actually healthy.
I understand that, but they're trying to build with that girl. She's, I mean, the only way to get better is just to be out there and working with the best. And Carmella's getting a chance to work with the best right now.
I guess I get that. And she's supposed to be a heel right now. But when she comes out, there's no cheers or boos.
I know, it kind of reminds me of the cruiserweights during their matches. There's no cheers. Nothing.
I've seen the cruiserweights get big OMG pops. Carmella doesn't get that either.
No. She's going to get there.
Hopefully she gets there, but I think it would have been better for her to be a face like that, and then they really couldn't stand her, start booing her, then turn her heel. She could do the same thing she's doing now, but with boos.
Let's talk about the women. And right now, in my opinion, the face that runs the women's division in all of WWE I gotta go with the Queen Bee, Charlotte. She is awesome.
Charlotte is, in fact, phenomenal.
She is awesome.
She's the daughter of the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. She is the current WWE Women's Champion on Raw. And her and Bayley were the survivors in the first match against Team SmackDown. But then Charlotte, showing her true colors, decides to attack Bayley after the match.
Which is great. It's going to be an awesome match.
This is going to be an awesome feud, but what about Sasha, Sam Moore? What's going to happen with her? What program does Sasha Banks go into with now? She's not in the title picture.
Sasha will be in the picture, dude. There's no way they're not going to have Sasha on something major.
I have a feeling that they are going to have Sasha probably enter into a feud with the one and only Nia Jax.
Good.
Another monster heel.
I think it'll be a great.
Looking to push.
It'll be a great feud. David versus Goliath.
Yeah, I guess so. Let's
Shawn Michaels versus Taker or Diesel. You know?
Let's move on to the next match. Well, we already covered Miz and Sami Zayn and all that stuff. So we'll go on to the one after that. We're talking about the 5-on-5 Raw versus SmackDown tag team match.
My favorite match of the night.
We got the New Day, Sheamus and Cesaro, Enzo and Big Cass, the Shining Stars, and the Club. With, I guess, Xavier Woods as the mascot for that team against SmackDown. We're talking about Heath Slater and Rhino, the Hype Bros, American Alpha, Breezango, who I love, and the Usos, who absolutely have done a 180, changed their music, changed their look, changed their attitude, and I love the Usos again because they're not flying around with half face paint. It was just getting stale.
Yeah.
This is the kind of makeover they needed, and it's working out very well. And the New Day got eliminated from the match
pretty
quickly. I don't know what that means, or if they're getting trolled, or maybe they got some kind of heat in the back, but I assumed the New Day would have been one of the final teams in said match. But it ended up being Sheamus and Cesaro winning it for Team Raw, and I love Sheamus and Cesaro. I love the yin and yang little...
In a way, though, Jerome, in a way it was kind of cool seeing them get eliminated first just because it gives a lot of teams that don't really get a lot of shine a little time out there. You know what I mean?
Shine,
the Shining Stars.
The Shining Stars.
I like them.
Worked a nice, decent chunk of that match doing the actual, meat and potatoes, collar and elbow tie-ups, catch-can wrestling that put that match together. I really do love the Shining Stars of
great team,
Primo and Epico, because when they were Los Matadores...
What do you think about Slater and Rhino? I love it.
Rhino, once again, just get put back in his spot, and he's one of those guys like Kane where if something goes wrong or they need some kind of guy that they can insert into some kind of main event picture, and the whole crowd will be like, oh, okay, you can do that with Kane, or you can do it with Rhino in the tag team division. And Heath Slater are getting the biggest push of his career.
Awesome.
I thought Heath Slater was going to be gone the last 3 times WWE cut talent because Justin Gabriel's gone, David Otunga's down in announcer role. All of Nexus is disappearing. Even his 3-man bandmates, although Jinder Mahal's back now, Drew McIntyre's gone. Heath Slater is here. He's got to feed his kids.
That's right.
And he's doing an absolute great job with his new gimmick. And he's over. The crowd loves him.
Yes.
So let's move on to the next match. Cruiserweights again. The Brian Kendrick defeating Kalisto by disqualification after an interference from a one Baron Corbin, the Lone Wolf. That was a great match before Corbin interfered.
Great match. I don't think they should have utilized Corbin to come in the match at that point. I think if he was going to interfere, he should have interfered at the end to cost the match.
Correct.
And so Brian Kendrick can get the clean pin or whatever.
Instead, he goes after both Brian Kendrick and Kalisto, pretty much waging a war against the Cruiserweights in general, regardless of them being face or heel.
It didn't make sense to me. I didn't really like that.
I would have rather him do what you said, show up at the end and cost someone the match, or wait till the match was over and then go after Kalisto, who was the real target for his rage. But because Kalisto's a cruiserweight, he is now associating all cruiserweights with Kalisto, and now they all need to be destroyed. We'll see where that goes from. But Brian Kendrick's still the cruiserweight champion via disqualification. And now for the actual bragging rights, the actual brand supremacy, the 5-on-5 Raw versus SmackDown match. Team Raw, we're talking about Kevin Owens. We're talking about Chris Jericho. Okay?
The GOAT.
I love Jericho. Can we do a sidebar about Chris Jericho? Okay, Chris Jericho right now has, I guess technically, 5 things that are all getting over at the same time. He's got it. He's got the list. He's got
Drink it in, man.
He's got the scarf. And he's got stupid idiot. He's got 5 things. 5, Booker T. 5 things. All getting over at the same time.
Do you know why? Because Jericho reinvents himself all the time.
Jericho.
And he stays relevant, man. He stays relevant.
When he had his jacket with all those lights destroyed, it was symbolic of him shedding that character so he can now come out as this pompous guy with the list, the scarf with no shirt on, and the catchphrases. He does it over and over again.
It's just, and it takes me back to that time too when he reinvented himself in like around 2008, the feud with Shawn Michaels.
Yep.
And he was coming out in these suits and just giving these like cold promos.
He was speaking low and condescending. He was calling people
Nick Bockwinkel.
Neophytes and sycophants. Words you had to look up to realize you were really being insulted.
Right.
He was saying he was the best in the world at what I do. Do you understand the words that I'm saying to you right now? It was great. He does it over and over again. Every time when the product goes a certain way or pop culture goes, Jericho's already there waiting for you. Like, hey,
he's there. I've been
drink it in, man. I love Chris Jericho. So yeah, Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, Roman Reigns, current U.S. champion, Seth Rollins, and Braun Strowman, who surprisingly could actually do more than like 3 things in the match. He was big, he was brooding, but he's gone through so many opponents.
He's doing what a big man's supposed to do.
And he's agile for a big man. When he gets somebody in the corner, he'll take that other corner like Bray Wyatt does, like hitting a rope, and then run through the guy.
Dude, he's doing what he has to do.
He's not doing arm drags. He's not doing hip tosses. If they wanted to give him the Universal Championship at some point, I will buy into Braun Strowman because unlike Great Khali, Braun Strowman is a big man who can work with the skill set that he has.
Right.
He looks the part. He looks menacing. You wouldn't want to walk into him in a dark alley. You wouldn't want to walk into him in the middle of a public shopping mall with a bunch of witnesses all around. Okay? The man is a walking monster. And, sidebar, he looks like the son of the man who played Ray Jackson in the 1987-88 classic Bloodsport. Look up Ray Jackson, okay? Get his picture up and put Braun Strowman's up and tell me they do not look like father and son. If they do a Bloodsport reboot, Braun Strowman will be the new Ray Jackson.
Hell yeah. You tell me.
Okay, so that was Team Raw. Team SmackDown. The face that runs the place, the WWE Champion, the legitimate WWE Champion, AJ Styles.
The best wrestler in the world right now.
That is correct. Bar none.
AJ Styles.
Dean Ambrose, the Lunatic Fringe. I love Dean. Randy Orton, newest member of the Wyatt family, who I thought was going to be trolling the Wyatt family like Daniel Bryan did, but so far so good. And
it's actually pretty cool.
Randy Orton, at the end of this match, sacrificed himself so that Bray could actually pick up the victory. Shane McMahon and Bray Wyatt with James Ellsworth, and Shane McMahon took a nasty bump.
That spear, that was crazy.
He already did the leap of faith elbow through Braun Strowman, through the table, which ended up helping Braun Strowman get eliminated because James Ellsworth from underneath the ring held Braun's leg so he couldn't get in. That was all Shane needed to do for a high spot.
It just shows you how far the McMahons will go for the fans.
That's correct. Shane McMahon was never one to not put his body on the line, go back to WrestleMania and watch him jump off the top of his cell through a table. And when he got up for Coast to Coast, I had a feeling maybe he was going to get speared in midair or something was going to happen. But when he took the spear...
You saw his head bounce back. That hurts.
That hurt a lot. And it looked like he had maybe knocked out right there on the spot, perhaps a concussion. Randy Orton breaking character to go front row and talk to Shane's wife and son who were right there to reassure them that he was going to be okay and it wasn't something life-threatening. And he did that right in the middle of the match. And Randy Orton was actually mentioned about that on Twitter. People were like, hey, I noticed you did that. And he was like, I'm a father myself. Right. I know what it's like to have your son or your wife watching stuff when stuff can go sideways, so I need to reassure with them. That was a very classy move by Randy Orton.
Let's go back to Randy Orton.
Let's talk about it. Randall Keith Orton, RKO. Fun fact.
I think this is like some of his best work right now that we're seeing with Randy Orton.
A healthy Randy Orton is a dangerous and very...
And I'm waiting and this is one of my dream feuds that I want to see, is Randy
I know what you're
Orton
going to say.
versus AJ Styles. Yep. I think that's what I... Honestly, a lot of people were Cena Styles. I get it, the whole TNA. He was the face of TNA,
exactly.
and John's the face of WWE.
AJ Styles was the John Cena.
Right.
Of TNA.
But, I mean, it was cool to see. I'm not saying it wasn't.
He beat John Cena twice.
Yeah.
The last one was perfectly clean. Right in the middle of the ring.
And their matches were awesome because, honestly, and this is on video, I don't think John Cena has bad matches. As a matter of fact, he has awesome matches with anyone. You put John Cena with anyone, and his matches are good. Gets over. But just Randy Orton and AJ, I just think they can have something really special, man. You see their moveset and all that, and their body movements, the way they work. I don't know. It's just everything. They're a total package.
AJ Styles himself has said, when they asked him about current superstars on the roster who he would like to face that he hasn't faced yet, he's like, I never faced Randy Orton. I'm really looking forward to that challenge.
And some other guy there named Shawn Michaels. Those are just rumors.
I don't like perpetuating rumors like that because you and I both know a match between AJ Styles and Shawn Michaels is instant WrestleMania main event quality.
That's just some.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine a match between AJ Styles and Shawn Michaels? First off, who goes over? Second off, is it a one-off? If it's a one-off match, who goes over?
Like Jericho, Shawn Michaels isn't selfish.
Correct.
He isn't a selfish veteran. I think.
He isn't selfish in his last run.
In his last run, right? A lot of people, before that, everyone says.
Everyone wants to get theirs. I mean, whatever. Shawn was up and coming, and he won. He finally got that title in '96 after Kevin Nash, who Shawn Michaels brought in, got it before him. I'd be a little bitter too.
Right. But I think Shawn. It doesn't matter who went over.
The match is going to be great. Obviously, if it's going to be one,
Shawn's still in great shape. You saw him last year.
Obviously, if Shawn Michaels is going to do a one-off, he's probably going to give AJ the rub. They're like, wow, this guy should be Shawn Michaels. It was still a great match. How many of Shawn Michaels' matches were losses? You didn't even remember. You didn't care if he won or lost. It was still the best match on the card. Michaels and Jericho at WrestleMania 19. Michaels actually won. Great match. Michaels and Kurt Angle, WrestleMania 21. Michaels lost the match. It's the best match on the card. Just Shawn Michaels won one world title that whole time back. It was in Elimination Chamber, and he lost the next month. That was the only title reign he ever had, except for the tag title. No other individual title. No Intercount, no U.S. The whole time he was back from 2002 to when he retired in 2010.
Shawn Michaels reminds me of another great sports athlete, because who can take time off, come back, and still be nasty? Michael Jordan. That's the other athlete I'm talking about.
Shawn Michaels' last match of his career to date was in the main event of WrestleMania, and he lost. And it was still the best match of the night.
He's the man. There's no one that can outperform Shawn Michaels, man. And that's the truth.
So getting back to the actual match, it ended up with Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt being the sole survivors after Randy Orton took the spear that was intended for Bray Wyatt from Roman Reigns, and then Bray Wyatt hits Roman Reigns with Sister Abigail. 1, 2, 3, and Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton, these sole survivors for SmackDown.
Big win for Bray.
Big win for SmackDown, big win for Bray, big win. Big win. It was a very big win.
When is Bray going to get his shot?
I really don't like... Bray Wyatt should have been a multiple-time world champion by now. He has everything. The look, the persona, the in-ring ability. You look at a guy that big, and some wrestling purists might be like, oh, well, he probably can't go longer than 15 minutes. Bray Wyatt could do an hour Iron Man match, no problem. You know what I mean? It's not just the body type. It's the endurance you have with it. Look at people in the NFL and linebackers and stuff. Way more than him. You know what I mean? It's not all just fat and he's just laying around. He's just a bigger guy. Originally, when he came in as
Kevin Owens is a big guy.
As Husky Harris, I don't want to use the Husky Harris part, but the part of people saying he was, a tank, but he had a Ferrari engine. You know what I mean? He's a tank, but he can go. And Bray Wyatt, in my estimation, is one of the best in the world right now. One of the best in the WWE. One of the best on SmackDown. Can go with anybody. Can have a great match with anybody. Draws you in with just his promo and coming into the crowd. And I really, really, really hope that by this time next year, we'll be talking about at least one of Bray Wyatt's WWE Championship reigns.
I agree.
Perhaps he has a good showing at the Rumble. Perhaps he I don't. Because last WrestleMania, all he did was he did that thing with The Rock. I mean, you get to work with The Rock, but it wasn't a match. It was just an appearance after doing it with The Undertaker at WrestleMania 31. John Cena at WrestleMania 30, which I still think to this day he should have gone over on John Cena. I think John Cena should have embraced the hate and hit Bray in the middle of the ring with that chair.
I think he should have gone over on Taker.
I wouldn't have minded that. I don't think Taker would have minded either, but you know that was Vince's call. And
I mean, the streak
was already over by then.
It's done. It's done and over with.
I just think Bray is getting to a point where either he's got to go face. I don't even. Maybe he's slowly turning face right now because his look has kind of changed a little bit, like the white jeans and the straggly like dreads going on now. But he's over. He's ready. He can have a world title now, please.
I don't mean to cut you off, but Survivor Series had a main event.
Yes, it did have a main event. A main event 12 years in the making, and what I mean by that is that the last time these two men met in the WWE ring was at WrestleMania 20 in 2004, Madison Square Garden. I'm talking about Goldberg and Brock Lesnar. Now, in that first match, both of them were on their way out of the company. Goldberg was not going to re-sign after being with WWE for a year, which most people consider a failed experiment. And Brock Lesnar was like, you know what, I'm done with this, even though he was getting a monster push. It was going to be the guy, the next guy. He's like, no, I'm done with wrestling. I want to go try out for the Minnesota Vikings. So both of them are on their way out the door. But one of them still has to go over. One of them still has to get the win. WWE decided to go with Goldberg because Brock Lesnar was leaving in the middle of a contract. I don't want to wrestle anymore. Goldberg's like, you know what, I just don't want to re-sign right now. He's still left with the door open, good grace. Like, just not for me right now. So like, all right, we'll give the win to Goldberg. The match itself was...
You know, the reason that whole Goldberg thing like failed, they didn't book him right, man.
Correct.
You know, like here's a guy that's just like, you're not gonna get a technical match out of Bill Goldberg or Brock. You're not gonna get. These guys are big brute guys. Like these guys are former football players, collegiate wrestler,
correct.
And Brock Lesnar, and
they're brick houses. They're
right. So like, you know. To defend them, like sometimes fans expect a little more and all this technicality. I mean, you got two fucking, like you said, two monster trucks going at each other. You know, it's gonna be a freaking big brawl. WWE should have booked Goldberg like WCW did. You know what I mean?
Just running through guys.
Yeah, certain guys, yeah. You know, I think working with guys like Shawn Michaels would have brought in the best out of Bill Goldberg. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, had he had a feud with Shawn Michaels, I think Shawn could have done something with him. I think Undertaker could have had something special with Bill Goldberg. If healthy, man, and it's a... You know, people talk Brock Goldberg. No, man. The dream match was Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Bill Goldberg.
That is correct.
You know
that
what
match
I mean?
never happened.
It's like Sting and Taker. Those are the matches that the WWE fans, WCW fans wanted to see.
Goldberg literally came in the day after Austin had his last match and retired.
Right.
I mean, talk about just... This all goes back to the invasion where, you know, WCW's top guys did not come over when Vince McMahon acquired WCW because they had contracts from AOL Time Warner that paid them to not have to do anything for another year. So there was no Hogan coming back, or Hall, or Nash, Goldberg, DDP, Sting, Luger, Scott Steiner, Savage. Now, if all 9 of them came back, who knows where we'd be right now. But that didn't happen.
I think.
And they didn't come in until after the AOL Time Warner contracts. Goldberg even a year after that. So he missed his window of opportunity to have that dream match with Austin.
Had the original WCW guys come, in my opinion. Excuse me. The WWE already had the ECW guys, then we had the WWE guys. I feel WCW would be around as a brand. ECW would be around as a brand. And WWE obviously is going to be around. There wouldn't even be an NXT or anything like that if the original guys had come.
You really think so?
I truly believe. I mean, you know, you got these guys. You remember, think about it, man. Had the original guys, Hall, Nash, Sting, Goldberg, Hogan, had they come, who knows what could have happened? They would have been in their own brand, mixed up. They probably would have had, like, you know, they probably would have shooken up the rosters a little.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there's a little flavor. Or, you know, just like have them all separated and then they all meet at the big pay-per-views like Survivor
Like
Series.
Raw and
the Royal
SmackDown are
Rumble.
doing now, be WWE
Right.
and WCW. That's a very good point. Getting back to the actual match with Goldberg and Lesnar, didn't last very long. And at a taste of his own medicine and a twist, Brock Lesnar was squashed in 2 minutes. Not one spear, but two, and a jackhammer. 1, 2, 3. Bill Goldberg over Brock Lesnar. Was that Goldberg's last match?
No. I think it was safe for Goldberg just because he hasn't been in the ring. Even though he's been training,
guys in top shape, but there's a difference between top shape
and being
in top ring shape.
Correct.
Correct.
And I think the way they booked the match was cool because it just leaves the door open for Bill Goldberg and to do a little bit more work for WWE. Possibly, like you saw on Raw, maybe getting a run at a title.
I think he announced title. He's going to be in the Royal Rumble.
Right.
So I'm calling it right now, and this is on video on November 23rd, 2016. I'm calling right now that if Bill Goldberg is in the Royal Rumble, it's going to be a repeat of what happened in 2004. Brock Lesnar is going to interfere. He's going to F5 Bill Goldberg, and then Bill Goldberg's going to get eliminated by somebody. In 2004 was Kurt Angle, so maybe it'd be Jason Jordan keeping in the whole wrestling thing. But that's what's going to happen. It's going to lead to a match between Goldberg and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, where they will have a match much longer than the one they just had at Survivor Series and much better than the one they had at WrestleMania 12 years ago. Sam, just talk about something.
So, I'm pumped up about that. We're pumped up about Bobby Roode, NXT TakeOver Toronto, awesome pay-per-view. Shinsuke and Samoa Joe tore it down as usual.
Yes, they did.
You know, and right now I'm just I gotta say I'm happy to see guys like Bobby Roode, Eric Young, and Samoa Joe get their due. You know what I mean? And, unfortunately, I mean they had great runs in TNA, but those guys don't.
WWE gave them the platform to do what they're doing right now. Speaking of Bobby Roode, okay, let's get into NXT TakeOver while we're on this first podcast video that I've been doing. For the first time, like 6 or 7 months, NXT TakeOver in Toronto, the Air Canada Center. That crowd, the NXT crowd at a TakeOver is the crowd you want to wrestle in front of every match. And it started off with two Canada natives, Glorious Bobby Roode and the Perfect 10, Ty Dillinger.
It factor.
That match lasted just under 16.5 minutes with Roode going over, and I don't know a better way to get the crowd hot and into it than having those two Canadians performing in their own home country.
Now, here's a good question. Does this signify that Bobby Roode is going after the NXT Championship now? Can we see him and Samoa Joe link up in a WWE ring?
That's a very good question.
You know, I mean,
they're both heels right now.
But that win puts it. But the thing is, it's cloudy right now in WWE because it does, like, you see heel versus heel matches, face versus face matches.
Here's the thing I see them doing. If they're going to put him in the title picture,
three-way.
Shinsuke's going to get his rematch. Bobby Roode can be a triple threat in there, and that's how you get the two heels to go against each other because Shinsuke is the one right there in the middle. That would be it.
I can see that.
And Bobby Roode and Nakamura by itself, Bobby Roode and Samoa Joe by itself. These are fresh matchups for people that haven't seen these guys.
Right.
I don't think Roode and Nakamura have ever faced each other. Roode and Joe have obviously in TNA, but somebody who's WWE gung-ho only, you've never seen the two wrestle each other before. So it's a fresh matchup for you guys and for us. It's the match you wanted to see between them, and now it's on the grandest stage in WWE.
I don't want to see TNA go out of business or any promotion go out of business.
I don't want to see TNA go out of business for one reason and one reason only.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
But seeing Bobby Roode in NXT in a WWE ring, and that guy was tailor-made for WWE. The look, I mean, his song, he's in great shape.
The robes.
Everything is just top-notch, man. And right now, it's probably my favorite worker to watch.
I love Bobby Roode.
I'm a big fan.
The next match on TakeOver was the finals of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, where we saw the Authors of Pain with their manager Paul Ellering go over TM61, formerly known as TMDK, which stands for the Mighty Don't Kneel, that I saw in New Japan back at Wrestle Kingdom 9, which was, I believe, 2015.
Yeah.
Australian tag team. Great look.
Really good.
And but I already knew going into this that the Authors of Pain were going to be the team that went over because they're building them as pretty much tag team versions of Braun Strowman, the big. And Paul Ellering, I guess, does the talking for them, the little talking that they do.
It's
but
just
the
like
casual,
the Road Warriors.
Except the casual fan doesn't even know who Paul Ellering is, and that he was the manager for the Road Warriors. So like, oh, who's this guy? As soon as I saw him, like, oh wow, they're putting Ellering with these guys. Here's the instant credibility, but
you and myself,
it goes over casual fans' head. They don't even know who he is.
You and myself have talked about the Authors of Pain, and I know you said you're not a big.
I'm not their biggest fan.
Big fan. But I think it's kind of fresh and neat because we haven't had a real big powerhouse tag team in the WWE in a very long time.
You're right.
In a very long time. So it's cool and seeing these guys go in there and manhandle guys and stuff. I like it, you know. I like their look. I like that Paul Ellering is with them. I mean, he's the perfect mouthpiece for them and stuff. And
I mean, I will give them this.
They're gonna be good, man.
I'll give them this. The match they had in the finals lasted longer than probably every other match they've had combined.
Right.
So you actually got to see them work, and they actually could do, you know, the shoulder tackles and the drop downs. And
Well, you also know Triple H isn't going to throw those
correct.
guys out there.
I get that.
You know what I
I
mean?
get that. So Authors of Pain, the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic Champions. You know, it's only a matter of time before they're going to get called into the main roster. Probably, I don't know if they'll go to Raw or SmackDown. It seems like SmackDown seems to be where NXT guys are look to go to first before Raw, so that's fine. Add them into the
Bring it.
Into the tag team mix. And speaking of the tag team mix, let's get to the next match that happened at NXT TakeOver Toronto. A 2 out of 3 falls tag team match for the NXT Tag Team Championship. I'm talking about DIY, Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano going against my favorite tag team, not only on NXT, but in wrestling right now, the Revival, Dash Wilder, Scott Dawson. You want to talk about old school, even Jim Cornette likes the Revival, okay? And he wants nothing to do with anything WWE. He goes out of his way to look at Revival matches.
The Revival, they're the best tag team in the world.
They are the epitome of an old school, rough and tough tag team. Matching tights. They don't do anything, you know, super high impact as far as like individual. You're not going to see moonsaults. You're not going to see like
you see wrestling.
Exactly. You see wrestling. You see ground and pound and quick tags.
Well, that's what I kind of
cut off the ring, give them heat, and their finish. I love the Shatter Machine as a tag team.
Well, if you notice the shows between NXT, Raw, and SmackDown, there's a lot of talk and BS that goes on. You know, I mean, they're trying to sell their storylines and
right. It's a lot of
sell tickets for the next pay-per-view or whatever. But then you watch NXT and NXT, you get that old school, nice feel of wrestling. You know what I mean? And that's what it's all about, wrestling. You know, so and they bring that.
It was
Revival brings that.
It was good. It was 2 out of 3 falls, which every time they do a 2 out of 3 falls match, you know it's going to go to the third and final fall. It does all the time. Revival got the first fall with a Shatter Machine, which, by the way, I love that move. It's a flapjack into a, I guess they call it technically an inverted lung blower, so it's like the 2 knees that you would do for the backstabber, but it's to somebody's chest instead of the back, so it looks awesome, looks devastating, probably is devastating even when you are taking it right. But then DIY came back and got 2 falls in a row, and that was their final chance to get the tag team titles, and now they have them. So congrats to DIY for finally getting those NXT Tag Team Championships. So I hope you have a nice long run with them, and you're probably going to end up dropping them to the Authors of Pain, which is why they got them off the Revival, because you're not going to have heels lose to heels. But this is the mark in me coming out. So let's move on to the next match, which was for the Women's Championship. The undefeated Asuka against the returning Mickie James. Sam Moore, your thoughts?
Great match. I mean, you can't go wrong with Asuka or Mickie James. I mean, Mickie James has a proven track record. Same with Asuka. I mean, what can you really say? All I hope is that Mickie James does sign with WWE and she comes back and we can see her in other great matches with girls like Charlotte and Sasha.
Mickie
and
James
Becky Lynch
looked to be in phenomenal shape. It was her first time back in the WWE ring in 6 years. Hasn't lost a step and took Asuka to the absolute limit. And all the people I saw Asuka face, Mickie James was just as legitimate a contender as anybody she did. And
I mean, Mickie James has a proven track record, man. That girl can go.
That
she's won championships at TNA. She's been a WWE Women's and Divas champion, right? So
that match was awesome.
I hope she comes back.
Unfortunately, Mickie James did not get the win, but great showing by the former multi-time WWE Women's Champion, and hopefully we see Mickie in the future. Now moving on to the main event, the rematch. Samoa Joe challenging Shinsuke Nakamura for the NXT Championship, and Samoa Joe getting the win, and he's now a 2-time NXT champion.
Let's talk about Samoa Joe. This guy, I mean, you want to talk about a guy that, you know, his size, big guy. The things that he's able to do in that ring, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
For him.
You know, I say that AJ Styles is the best in the world. Sometimes I think Samoa Joe is underlooked, and no one gives him the credit he deserves. Because just as much as overlooked. I'm sorry. Because just as much as AJ did for TNA,
Samoa Joe did
just as much, man.
Not only did he do that for TNA, Samoa Joe, one of the founding.
He's the only guy that had every single championship at one time.
The foundations for Ring of Honor. His matches with Punk helped put Ring of Honor on the map.
The UFC, the Ultimate Fighter.
Don't even get me started with CM.
Dude, I give him props, dude, because you know what? It takes balls to get out there and fight in an MMA cage. So, he should be in WWE though. By the way,
please let's not talk about it because that's another 40 minutes.
Okay, sorry.
But Samoa Joe, fearless, brutal, does a suicide dive with the forearm through the ropes. Does that huge enziguri in the corner. He's big. He's brooding. He's who I'd want to style my own wrestling style after.
Yeah, he's great, man.
He's huge.
Then you got Shinsuke Nakamura. I mean,
Bar just drips charisma. Just walking into the room, that entrance he had with all the people and the violins was amazing.
Like, he's one of those guys, when he steps into a room, he you know, you got to give him the attention.
He commands it.
Yeah.
He commands the
spotlight. You got to give it to him. He's just like one of those guys.
Just him being there.
And
let's not even overlook the fact that his in-ring acumen is insane. Okay, some of the moves that he does, including that Kinshasa, formerly known as the Bomaye knee strike, which is just brutal and devastating. Just ask Austin Aries, who's currently out with an injury. Look up that image.
Is the greatest man that ever lived.
That's correct. Austin Aries. Wish you a speedy recovery.
Roderick Strong. I'm glad you're on NXT.
I'm so glad. Roderick Strong, with one of my favorite finishers of all time, the sick kick, is now on the big bright lights of WWE NXT. He's got the look. He's got the in-ring acumen. And put him together with Aries. It's a great. Reminds me of, I don't know, like the No Remorse Corps from ROH. But
I mean, we were talking about the Revival as a great tag team.
Yes, we were.
You know, when these two guys came out, I couldn't. It was hard for me to swallow them and really be like, oh man, these guys are good, this and that. But I like the damn Young Bucks, man. I like the super kick parties now.
We're going to do Japan, huh?
The Young Bucks are. I mean, they're in, man. They're over, and they're not even in WWE, and everyone knows who they are.
Nick and Matt Jackson, formerly known as Generation Me, and their failed TNA run. The Young Bucks, who have beef with Jim Cornette, and beef with
the run TNA failed on that,
and beef with Jim Cornette. Which my rule of thumb is, if Jim Cornette doesn't like you, you're doing something right. I love the Young Bucks. I love the super kick party. Throw as many super kicks as you want, okay? Everybody uses the super kick now, but when Shawn Michaels uses it, you know it's the finish.
I don't like that. I mean, the Young Bucks can get away with it, but I don't like that everyone just uses the super kick as a headlock or something like that.
I feel the same way with the DDT. You know?
Because how do you put, wasn't Shawn's move #1 in the greatest WWE moves?
Correct.
Of all time?
Because a good finisher is one that you can hit anywhere, at any time, on anyone.
Who was it? Him and the stunner.
Yep.
Right?
Both moves that you don't have to lift the guy up. You can hit anybody with it at any time.
And Cena uses the stunner now.
Yeah, that backpack stunner. We're really gonna get into that. I saw somebody get up right after he did it.
Now I want to touch on one more thing, Jerome. Broken Matt Hardy. The talk of the wrestling world right now is Broken Matt Hardy, the character, Brother Nero,
Vanguard
1, King Maxwell, Senor Benjamin. I mean the whole Hardy family. Should the Hardys
Don't ask me that.
Should the
Don't ask me
Hardys
that.
return to the WWE?
Don't ask me that.
Because I feel that Matt and Jeff Hardy, man, anywhere they go, they're always over, the Hardy Boys. The fans will forever love those guys.
Look, I think the only reason he's able to go as far as he has with this whole broken Matt Hardy and everything, this is, by the way, the best work I've ever seen of Matt Hardy's career. Okay? It's a single reason I even contemplate flipping the channel to TNA. Even most of the times I don't. I go out of my way to look at whatever segments he was a part of.
Right.
But he has creative control down there.
Right.
He won't have it in WWE. So unless he gets to come in to WWE how he is right now and how Jeff is right now, I don't want them coming into WWE.
Right.
I don't want Broken Matt Hardy to not exist anymore. If he can come in as he is and have some kind of control over that and work with the writers to keep this going, absolutely. If he's not going to be broken anymore, don't do it.
And the sole reason I say that is because on the Dudley's farewell, when they got on the mic and they were saying how they had great matches, Edge and Christian, and then they mentioned the Hardys, you heard those fans, man. All you heard in that crowd was delete,
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 delete, delete, delete, delete. Sorry.
I mean, I think WWE can capitalize on that.
I think they can too. But
I mean,
also
it's big right now, but being on the WWE platform can even make it that much bigger.
Part of me thinks that the only reason maybe Triple H is interested is so that he can squash it himself. And I don't want to see that happen. I'm sorry. If somebody gets hot, sometimes Triple H takes exception and steps in and cools it off. Let's talk about when he stepped out of his retirement to face CM Punk at Night of Champions. Yeah, who won that match? Who benefited from it? And who went back into retirement afterwards? Let's talk about someone's match with Sheamus at WrestleMania 26. Who went over in that match? Who's supposed to benefit from that match and who did? Who actually did?
You hear a lot of people say that stuff about Triple H, and I agree because,
there's a time to put guys over, and there's a time to try to get yourself over, and you should have put Sheamus over, you should have put Punk over, and then you finally decided you were going to gift him with getting the opening victory against you to open the WrestleMania 30 after screwing him out of the main event 3 years in a row. I would have walked too if I was CM Punk. Yeah. You were never going to give him the main event at WrestleMania. This man was a WWE champion for over a year. And you decided to give him that championship because you already knew that you were going to have The Rock and John Cena announce it the day after WrestleMania 27. You already had the main event at WrestleMania 28 locked up, so you knew you could have him be the champion because you guaranteed not main event that one. And then you're going to have him go all the way to the Royal Rumble the next year to drop it to The Rock to justify a rematch between him and Cena for the title? Because after The Rock beat CM Punk at that Royal Rumble for the championship, he did 2 title defenses. He went against Punk the following month to make it look like Punk might have a chance to get back in and beat him. And then Punk doesn't get a triple threat main event, which would have given him the main event he so rightfully deserved. You stick him with The Undertaker, and all he does is go and have the best match on that card. And then you make it John Cena and The Rock 2 for the championship, because the first one, I guess, the match that was supposed to happen once in a lifetime had to happen the next year. That was all you, Triple H. I know you were pulling those strings. I know you had everything to do with that. You never liked CM Punk. You never wanted him to get to the main event. And now I'm going off on a tangent. I said I wasn't going to do it, but I did.
I can understand your frustrations as a fan. And
he should have had a main event.
I felt that way as well when it came to Sting. Did you think Sting should have gone over at WrestleMania?
Yes, he should have.
I mean,
but Triple H just can't let it go.
Sting is one of those. And here's another guy that Sting, along with Samoa Joe, along with AJ Styles, is one of the most unselfish guys in wrestling.
Steve Borden.
He goes in there. TNA
Makes a great
with,
cheese.
with a roster that, no one knew a lot of these guys in TNA. The only people they knew in TNA were Jeff Jarrett, Sting, Kurt Angle.
Yep. And Christian
when he came over.
That's it.
Besides that, these guys were dealing with.
They didn't know the alpha male Monty
No,
Brown.
They didn't know any of those guys.
Sonny Siaki. The Flying Elvises.
Like, he puts a whole company on his back with AJ and all these guys, and he puts them over.
No questions asked.
No.
He has nothing else more to gain.
He wanted the help.
What he has to gain now is by putting people over. He has the reputation. He has the acumen. And what he can do now, people beat him, they go up.
Right.
That's what you do. You give back.
But Sting's
Chris Jericho lost to Fandango at WrestleMania in Fandango's first match.
And Sting should, in my opinion, he should have gone over.
Yep. But Triple H was like, I guarantee Triple H could have been like, you know what, Vince? Let's put Sting over. And Vince could be like, okay, that's what you want to do. But instead, I guarantee Vince is like, all right, I'm going to have you go over. And Triple H just did the condescending, oh, are you sure? Oh, okay, I guess.
Well,
let's talk about, I'm sorry, I got to get back to CM Punk. It's just, I got to call you out, Triple H, for being a hypocrite. Okay? You're going to talk about how, the main event of WrestleMania should be for the championship. But I find it very ironic that there were a couple of times where the match that should have been the main event, even though it wasn't for the title, wasn't the main event because you needed to be in the main event for the title instead. First and foremost, WrestleMania 18. Rock Hogan. Everybody knows that should have been the main event. Triple H said it himself afterwards, but Triple H was in the main event so he could win the title from Jericho in a match that could not follow Rock and Hogan, but it did anyway. That's example number one. Let's go to number two. WrestleMania 25. The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. That should have been the main event. It ended up being the main event the next year only because Shawn's career was on the line and you finally stepped out of the limelight, Triple H. But that was the same WrestleMania that you had to put yourself over on Sheamus because God forbid you help an up-and-comer. But everybody knew nobody was going to follow Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. And what happened? You had Triple H and Randy Orton for the WWE Championship after that match in a snooze fest. So Triple H, the only two times that a match that should have been the main event but wasn't, because the title match should be the main event, were matches that you were involved in. But when CM Punk is champion going into WrestleMania, well, Rock and Cena's got to be the main event. That's the big match. But CM Punk was a champion, Triple H. How come he doesn't get to be the main event? I thought the title's the most important. No, it's only the most important when you are involved. Paul. Can I call you Paul? Is that your name? Is your name Paul? Well, then I guess you shouldn't mind. I'm sorry. I'm going to find a tangent again. Go ahead, Sam.
Punk Styles.
Punk Styles has happened. Never in WWE, but that would also be...
In the WWE right now, man. Right now.
I don't like to think about it because it's not going to happen.
You don't think Punk will ever come back?
I think Punk is way too...
Brett came back.
Set in his ways.
And I think everyone thought Brett would never
I thought Brett would never come back either. But Punk said, when he was still with WWE, and still in good graces, they asked him when he was going to retire, and he's like, it's sooner than everybody thinks. Less than a year later, he left for good. And I think Punk's one of those guys that's very loyal to his friends, very loyal to his beliefs and his ways. I don't see him coming back.
Brett came back.
The only way I see Punk coming back is if Triple H left the company.
Is it what?
Yep.
Triple H leaves?
Mm-hmm. Punk's problem is not with Vince. It is with Triple H.
Well, you know that isn't going to happen.
Correct. So Punk's not coming back. It's not going to happen.
So does Punk...
I want it to happen.
So does
More than anything I want it to happen. It's not going to happen.
So does Punk cheat the fans and not wrestle at all then? Or does he at least go to New Japan?
Maybe he goes to New Japan.
Ring of Honor.
Ring of Honor. Maybe he goes to Global Force.
What's that? I'm just joking. Impact. I mean, there's different... I mean... And this is another thing for TNA. The only way that company can make an epic splash is if they sign a big name like that.
Correct.
They need a CM Punk over there to create some buzz. I mean, no offense to Damian Sandow,
Aaron Rex.
Aaron Rex. I mean, WWE.
You're not big enough of a
No.
signing on your own. You need to come in after somebody huge comes in. Punk comes in, and then you come in after. Like, oh man, Sandow came too.
Right.
But it was, oh, Sandow came?
I mean, he.
No disrespect. I love Damian Sandow, Aaron Rex, everything. I love everything about Gibberish, everything. But
Great wrestler, but it just like.
You need somebody else to be able to open the door for you to then walk through instead of you just coming in and nobody even realizes you're at the party.
I feel that TNA, and this is on them, but they should have brought in Cody before they did Aaron Rex. Just because Cody has a bigger name.
Correct.
I mean,
He's a Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes. I mean,
He's Dusty's son.
Son of a
The
plumber.
grandson of a plumber.
That's right, baby. But I don't know. That's what I would.
No, maybe that's wrong. Oh, sorry.
You know, so TNA. You know, there's guys like Punk out there. There's Alberto Del Rio. In order to make a real big splash and to get some viewers over,
You got to get that checkbook out and get those big name free agents that just left WWE that still have the buzz into your company.
You still have Ted DiBiase out there.
Ted DiBiase Jr.
I'm sorry, but here's a guy. He's a great worker.
Yeah.
He would probably like the TNA schedule because it's not as demanding as WWE.
One location.
So he gets to do his thing with his family that he's doing, and he has that summer camp he does and whatever, and still wrestle. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. There's, you got him, you got Cody, you got Alberto. I mean, it's a long shot, but money talks.
You gotta do something because you're on a sinking ship right now.
CM Punk's out
as
there.
much as I love broken Matt Hardy, it's gonna get to the point where even he's gonna need some help to keep the company going.
Well, you figure if you keep the Hardys, you got Abyss, who's a mainstay. Abyss one, I don't think will ever leave TNA.
I don't think so either.
You got James Storm still over there with that new group he has.
Mm-hmm.
You add these 5 guys that I said. You got You got young stars like Moose and Mike Bennett.
You got fresh matchups.
You got
something to work with, something to build on.
And I did.
You need meat and potatoes to have a full meal.
I love
right now. You've got the plate, and you're looking for the fork.
I dig the TNA Grand Title. I like that. I like the concept of the rounds. I think it's cool. I think it's different.
To differentiate yourself, I see what you're saying. I mean, it's whatever.
Lashley, I think Lashley, this has been his best run that I've ever seen him on. You know what I mean? Eddie Edwards, up and coming. I think it's cool that he's a world champ. Just because he's done so much for TNA, he's stuck by them, and he's doing big things. You know what I mean?
Eddie Edwards could have chosen gone to WWE. Decided to go with TNA. That was a very classy move, to be honest with you, because I don't think you would have got lost in the shuffle, Eddie Edwards. And I'm sorry, who's he with?
Davey Richards.
Davey Richards. I'm sorry.
He's retiring, you know.
Yeah,
but
the Wolves could have made some very big waves in NXT and eventually the main roster, but they chose to go to TNA, and that says something. They decided to give TNA a chance, and hopefully, I wish other people would come in behind them and give TNA some steam back because they are failing.
Yeah.
And going back to getting that off topic, but you talked about the Young Bucks earlier, which opened the door to New Japan. And speaking of New Japan, I got to talk about my favorite wrestler in the world right now, who currently resides.
You said AJ Styles.
Well, I wasn't being completely truthful when I said,
don't forget about Adam Cole.
I love all of them, okay, but my favorite wrestler on planet Earth right now is the cleaner, Kenny Omega. The new leader of the Bullet Club. That's the real name. The Elite. With the Young Bucks. The first foreigner to ever win the prestigious G1 Climax tournament. It was 20 wrestlers, I don't know how many days, how many matches. He won it. Only 2 other foreigners.
Is that on YouTube yet?
I don't think it is. Only 2 other foreigners ever made the finals, that being the recent departed from New Japan Carl Anderson, former Bullet Club stablemate of Kenny Omega's, and Rick Rude. That is elite company, in my humble opinion. Kenny Omega is firing on all cylinders. His gimmick, his character, his in-ring moves, his mannerisms, the way he sells.
Did you see the new Kingdom on Ring of Honor?
No.
Look up Matt Taven. He has Kenny Omega's hairstyle, the curls, everything. I'm like, dude, this is kind of like a rip-off.
Kenny Omega is the real deal. He's a mix between Brian Pillman and then his own creation. I only say Brian Pillman as a form of flattery because he's got that little bit of a crazy vibe to him. He's got the hair that kind of curls, but I love everything about Kenny Omega.
Will he sign to WWE? Or is he happy in Japan?
I think he's beyond happy in Japan because he's stated multiple times in Japan, you get to do what you want for, most of the degree. It's what you put in. It's your own input. Not a lot of restraints as to what you can do over there. I mean, watch some of the matches. I mean, Jim Cornette hates Kenny Omega forever because he had a match against a 9-year-old.
Oh, that was hilarious.
It was hilarious. The 9-year-old's the one who wanted to do it. It was a 3-minute match, and it was for that. It fits in with the culture for Japan. It was comedy, and it was funny. And they actually put on a match for 3 minutes.
People tend to forget that wrestling is entertainment.
Correct.
Stu Hart used to wrestle a bear. It's entertainment.
Kenny Omega, for me, is just everything I'd want to be as a wrestler. He's an avid video gamer, avid fan of anime. I looked at him like this is me. I want to meet Kenny Omega more than anybody else in the world. I actually tweeted Kenny Omega a couple times, and he responded to me. I asked him what his favorite video game was, and he said it was either Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in Time for SNES, love that game, or Plants vs. Zombies, love that game too.
Is he your man crush Mondays?
Do I say live on? Yeah, he is. He is. Kenny Omega, Tyson Smith, a Canadian, by the way, influenced by Jericho's entire career. Shawn Michaels, one of his favorite wrestlers. He left the WWE developmental system in 2006 because Bill DeMott was running his little hazing antics wild, and he asked to be released and went to Japan as a result to fight Kota Ibushi. Because he saw Ibushi, he's like, oh, this guy might be on the same wavelength as I am, which he was. They formed a team over there. He finally gets signed to New Japan as a member of the Bullet Club when they had AJ Styles, when they had Anderson and Gallows and the Young Bucks. Styles leaves, Nakamura leaves. Kenny assumes the reins, is now the leader of the Bullet Club, and he is firing on all cylinders. And because he won that G1 Climax tournament, he will be facing Okada at Wrestle Kingdom this January in a match that I think is going to steal the show for the year. And Kenny Omega will be the NJPW Heavyweight Champion by the end of the night.
You ordering it?
I want to order it. I want to order it. I want to stream it. They had it over here in pay-per-view 2 years ago, thanks to Jeff Jarrett's Global Force.
Yeah,
they had Jim Ross commentating, and it was in English. Last year they didn't have that, so I was scrambling to try to find it. Found it too late. So this year I'm hoping to find it live to watch Kenny Omega, just to watch Kenny Omega.
Now don't forget,
beat Okada.
Adam Cole's a member of that Bullet
I do
Club
know.
now.
Adam Cole is.
And he's a real deal.
He is the real deal.
So don't forget about him. That Bullet Club is still strong. Some guys might leave, but they still stay strong.
Correct. And the Bullet Club still has a chance to fully reform as far as everybody in WWE. I'm talking about Finn Balor, AJ Styles, Anderson, and Gallows all coming together. We'd probably have to be as heels, but that would be the true club. But who would be the leader? Finn was the original leader. Styles took over when Finn left. Now they're both in the same spot. Who was the team captain if all four of them are on a Survivor Series team? Is it AJ or is it Finn?
I would have to go with...
I would say descent amongst the ranks.
I'm going to go with AJ Styles.
I would too. I think Finn wouldn't have a problem with that either.
Just because AJ, I feel, has done more in wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, he's just... At least for America, for the average American fan, that people know him more over here.
And people are like, "Hey, how's this guy captain with AJ Styles?" I get what you're saying. That makes sense.
In that aspect, I mean, Prince Devitt, fucking great, man.
Watch the language.
It's a podcast. They all swear.
Only the adult audience watch, man. Kids might watch this.
No, don't worry about it.
My nose won't stop itching.
It's because
I'm so nervous. I'm so hyped up and excited about talking about wrestling on a podcast for the first time in 7 or 8 months.
So we're gonna have our fantasy match. I'm gonna ask Jerome one. I'm gonna make.
Wait. Before we go any further, we're gonna have to take a quick break, but we'll be right back. And we're back. Sam Moore says he has some kind of fantasy matchup for me. Sam, let's hear it.
So Jerome, to cap off this show, my fantasy matchup for you. Randy Savage versus Kenny Omega
No.
versus CM Punk
No.
in a 3-way dance.
Nope.
Who do you go with?
No. All three of them win.
Who do you go with?
This is so stupid. Why are you gonna pick three of my favorites against each other?
Dude, it's a fantasy warfare, man. Who do you go with? They're all great in their respective ways, man.
Yeah, they are. They really are.
But who do you think would go to that other side and really get that win? Who would?
Let me first off say that I love all three of the wrestlers you just mentioned. Randy, Macho Man, Kenny Omega, and CM. If all three of them are actually going to face each other in the prime of their careers, in a triple threat match, and I have to pick who's going over, this is not a slight to the other two wrestlers in the match.
Okay.
But the winner of the match will be the Macho Man, Randy Savage.
Really?
Yes. I believe Macho Man has the intensity, the never say die attitude, to do whatever it takes to win, and he's going to hit either Omega or Punk or both of them with that elbow off the top rope. 1, 2, 3, right in the middle of the ring.
It's not a bad pick, man. Macho Madness.
That's just how I feel. That's what's going to happen. It will be a great match. Oh, it'll be a great match. But, yeah, I think the Macho Man Randy Savage goes over in that fantasy matchup. But now it's time, Mr. Moore, for my own fantasy matchup for you. Okay? And this is not going to be a triple threat match. This is going to be a singles match. Okay?
What kind of match? Gimmick match?
No gimmick.
Okay.
Scheduled for one fall. The Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, against the Icon Sting. Who goes over and why?
I'm going to have Shawn as a heel in the match.
Okay.
Just because Shawn's a great heel. And Sting is right behind Ricky Steamboat. That's probably the second greatest babyface of all time, in my opinion.
Okay.
Like them both equally. They're both my favorites.
Okay.
One
of them has to win, Sam. One has to win, one has to lose.
I think Shawn's heel work, Sting's babyface work. I'm gonna go with Sting.
Are you kidding me?
You gotta remember, I'm a WCW guy.
I don't care if you're a WCW guy. Shawn Michaels is your...
Sting is my all-time favorite.
What?
The reason...
Mind blown. Mind blown.
I like them both equally. The reason I choose Sting is just because if you've ever watched his matches with Ric Flair, I mean, Sting's comeback, his fire, how he gets the crowd behind him and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It just it's awesome.
By the way, what era of Sting are we talking? Are we talking Crow, or are we talking the short blonde hair with the Ultimate Warrior kind of face paint? Or
I can go with any era of Sting.
Okay.
To be honest with you, Sting is timeless.
So if you're talking Shawn Michaels as a heel, is it like
the
97 Shawn Michaels?
97 Shawn Michaels when he wrestled Bret at Survivor Series.
That's Shawn Michaels.
And you know what Sting was very popular around that time when he changed into the Pro, so we'll use that 97 Sting.
Okay.
It's just like I think it would have been a great match. I mean, Shawn is the greatest in-ring performer. I'm going to put it out there. Shawn is the greatest in-ring performer of all time. And as a heel, Sting as a babyface, I gotta give this Sting. I'm not saying that Sting is better than Shawn, but I think Shawn.
Think so?
I'll put it to you this way. I think Shawn. I mean, Sting isn't a bad wrestler, but I think Shawn would even bring out more out of Sting. You know what I mean? So, I think they would both complement each other. And Sting's fire, man, as a baby face is unmatched, and Shawn is. When I was talking about heels like Miz and stuff, when Shawn's a heel, he's a heel. I mean, you're gonna hate him.
It's true. Shawn Michaels definitely not one that it was hard to hate back in those days.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, we are going to wrap up this inaugural return episode of Jerome's Gibberish, which, once again, was long overdue. I decided to elevate it up to video so you could see our facial expressions. As we told you, our thoughts are completely unbiased and down the middle thoughts on the wrestling business as a whole. And our next episode,
it's going to be a fun one.
Even though I said it was going to be a one-off, I guess Sam's going to be a regular now. Our next episode, since Survivor Series just happened, we are going to come up with some of our dream Survivor Series teams. Dream fantasy matchups with wrestlers from all organizations. New Japan, Ring of Honor, TNA, WWE, WCW.
Every era of wrestling.
Every tag team, whatever. We're going to come up with teams, team names, fantasy matchups, who we think is going to win. All that's coming in the next episode of Jerome's Gibberish. So you don't want to miss it. We'll be here at some point next week. I can't guarantee you when, but sometime within the next week, 2 weeks minimum, you will see another episode of Jerome's Gibberish where we cover all things Survivor Series. Back when Survivor Series was nothing but 4-on-4 elimination matches, and that is what we were going to bring to you. And you guys didn't even know you wanted it, but now it's all
You're going to have it, and you're going to take it. So stay tuned.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching the latest episode of Jerome's Gibberish. I'm glad you stuck with us for what was well over an hour. And we'll hope to see you next time. And until then, bye.
Later.